Oh, look at these two. All right, come on. Either they're living in a fair or they're just very shy.
CEO caught on kiss cam at a Coldplay concert snuggling with his head of human resources.
Astronomer CEO Andy Byron has resigned.
The company Astronomer says that Andy Byron has now stepped down. Everybody's talking about the story.
His wife has now deactivated her account. The wife later dropped her married name.
Parodies and memes are flooding social media.
Oh, look at these two.
All right, come on. You're okay? Oh, look at these two. All right, come on. You're okay? Oh, what?
I think cheating is an abomination, okay? And this man has a wife, he has children, these kids are gonna have to watch and see that.
Let's get one thing clear right now. Andy Byron didn't just make a mistake. He was set up, blindsided, and walked straight into a trap with a smile on his face. At first glance, it looked like your typical CEO scandal, a powerful man caught on kiss cam doing something he shouldn't. But that's the illusion. What really happened wasn't a sloppy moment of passion. It was a carefully staged ambush designed to collapse reputations and trigger chaos at the highest level. This wasn't an accident. It was architecture. So here's the question. Was Andy the cheater or the chess piece? And who really planned that kiss in front of 60,000 people? And why? Because once we pull on this thread, the whole game starts to unravel. While the stadium lights flashed and Coldplay sang about stars and surrender, one camera locked onto a man who thought he owned the night. Andy Byron, the cloud tech giant, was caught leaning in, making eye contact and kissing a woman who was very clearly not his wife. The crowd kept cheering. The band kept playing, but the internet, it exploded. And that woman beside him, she wasn't shocked. She was waiting for it. Kristen Cabot, Astronomer's chief people officer, known by insiders as the Fixer. Cold, composed, ruthlessly strategic. You don't climb to the top in Silicon Valley without mastering the art of quiet control. So why was she seated next to her CEO in public at Gillette Stadium? Here's where it gets wild. Insiders say she requested those seats, Section 102, Row C, a prime kiss cam zone. And she knew exactly what she was doing. She even made a joke during a Zoom call the day before, saying, "Let's see if Coldplay captures a corporate meltdown." But it wasn't a joke. It was a warning in plain sight. Andy Byron had no idea. He probably thought he was being bold, bringing his so-called work wife to a concert, spinning it as professional, harmless, maybe even platonic. But Kristen, she wasn't there for the music. She came with a plan, and she executed it with precision. The second that kiss hit the stadium screen, the internet went into overdrive. Twitter, TikTok, Reddit, even LinkedIn, all lit up within minutes. But this wasn't just gossip. People noticed everything. The strange body language, the way Kristen subtly angled her face toward the camera, that cold smirk the moment the screen lit up. Within 48 hours, Andy Byron was gone, resigned. Kristen, officially placed on leave, but not before scrubbing her social profiles and locking down every DM. Why would a high-ranking exec blow up the very CEO she supported? Because it wasn't about romance, it was about control. That kiss didn't reveal a secret. It launched a takeover. Right there, in public, on camera, at a Coldplay concert, everything changed. But don't call it a scandal. This wasn't chaos by accident. This was a flawless display of revenge, betrayal, and razor-sharp strategy, wrapped in heels and highlighter under the glowing stadium lights. Let's get something straight. Kristen Cabot didn't stumble into controversy. She designed it. This wasn't your typical workplace fling gone sideways. It was a calculated step-by-step mission to climb the ladder and burn every rung she didn't need on the way up. And Andy Byron, just another powerful man who believed he was calling the shots, until the boardroom turned into a battlefield. Now we turn back the clock. Early 2024, Kristen joins Astronomer as the chief people officer, polished, public-facing, with a reputation for managing crises like a pro. But according to people inside the company, she didn't arrive quietly. She walked in like she already ran the place. At her very first executive meeting, she didn't settle for a side seat. She sat right next to Andy and never moved. At first, it looked like smart alignment, but by quarter two, the whispers had started. She's too close to the CEO. Why is she reviewing equity deals with him in private? Why is Andy canceling board calls but always clearing time for Kristen? Now here's where things get really interesting. One employee, let's call him James, revealed that 3 months before the Coldplay chaos, Kristen led an all-hands HR meeting and casually dropped this line. Some people get promoted by merit, others just need better lighting. Sound cryptic? It wasn't. It was a warning dressed up as a joke. And then came the fallout no one talked about. 2 executive assistants quietly left the company in April. Rumor has it they were pushed out after witnessing a few too many private lunches between Andy and Kristen. And that wasn't all. Kristen started taking control of internal PR, even editing Andy's official speeches. Then, without any formal authority, she began showing up on investor calls. No finance title, no oversight, just presence. Most people assumed it was just office chemistry, but Andy Byron, the tech-minded exec with a clean record, had no idea he was already drowning. He thought Kristen was his ally, his fixer, the one who had his back. But while he dreamed of IPOs, she was building a vault of secrets. One mistake, one message, one quote at a time. And here's where it really explodes. Turns out Kristen had an encrypted Google Drive linked to her personal email, and no one at the company knew about it. Why would an HR executive need that kind of secrecy? That's the million-dollar question. Rumors are swirling, and insiders whisper that the folder holds screenshots, Slack messages, unsigned NDAs, and photos. What kind of photos? No one's saying out loud. But one legal team member claims they got a DM saying Kristen had a plan B, and a C, and a D. The Coldplay video? That was just the surface, just the spark. So ask yourself, was that kiss cam moment really about a careless mistake? Or was it a public takedown plan frame by frame? And here's the twist that chills everything. A former colleague says Kristen pulled the exact same play 5 years ago at a DC tech firm. Different CEO, same charm, same outcome. Still think this was about Andy Byron? He wasn't the story. He was the tool. That kiss wasn't about romance. It was a calculated strike. And it wasn't aimed at the public. It was aimed at power. It wasn't just aimed at Andy. It was aimed at someone even more dangerous. A woman in the boardroom. A rival. Someone who had the real power to block Kristen's rise. So let's rewind this scandal. Why would Kristen Cabot put everything on the line? Her title, her polished reputation, her entire LinkedIn legacy, all for a kiss on a stadium screen? The answer, it wasn't a gamble, it was a detonation. That kiss wasn't meant to scandalize a marriage. It was meant to collapse an empire from within. Sources say the tension inside astronomers started long before the Coldplay lights ever flickered. Kristen had been locked in a quiet but brutal standoff, a months-long Cold War, with another high-ranking female exec, a board member, a former investor, the one who allegedly blocked Kristen's promotion to COO. Why? Too emotional, too close to Andy, too risky. So what does Kristen do? She plays the only card powerful enough to break through. Andy himself. She gets close, becomes essential, then places herself right beside him, center frame, in front of 60,000 people, knowing that one kiss would burn his image to the ground. And then, the dominoes started to fall. Because when Andy Byron went down in flames, he didn't go alone. He pulled others with him. That board member who once blocked Kristen, now under fire for ignoring internal warnings and HR concerns. Investors, furious about the reputational damage, and the legal team, scrambling to figure out who knew what and when. Meanwhile, Kristen stayed silent, calm, unshaken, watching the storm unfold quietly from her rental in the Hamptons. But it doesn't stop there. Whispers say Kristen wasn't just collecting receipts on Andy, she had leverage on several other execs too. Multiple employees have come forward, anonymously, claiming she recorded private meetings, created password-protected folders, and kept detailed notes on who was involved with whom inside the company. The IT guy, he quit just 2 weeks ago, claiming his access was suddenly revoked after a surprise data audit. And the compliance officer, he's now out on medical leave. Coincidence? Or part of something much bigger? So the real question is, was this an implosion? Or was it a hostile takeover in disguise? And did anyone ever really stand a chance against Kristen Cabot? Let's call it what it truly was, not a scandal, but a strategy in motion. And just when it seemed the drama had peaked, the quiet twist arrived. A private equity firm is preparing a hostile takeover of Astronomer. And who did they approach to help reshape the future? Kristen Cabot. Yes, the woman at the center of it all may now become the one leading it all. From whispered meetings to boardroom deals, from kiss cam to C-suite. While others scrambled, Kristen stayed silent and strategic. She wasn't reacting. She was already 3 moves ahead. So if this story taught us anything, it's this. Power doesn't always shout. Sometimes it smiles. And women like Kristen, they don't wait for the invitation, they build the room. If you love untold stories of ambition, betrayal, and boardroom power plays, the kind the headlines miss, hit subscribe and stay close. Because the next twist, it always begins where the last one ends.